Ladies and gentlemen, my computer says 9 o'clock. I call this Sawyer County Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Ron Buckles,
Here.
Ed Peters,
Here.
Jason Weaver,
Here.
Mark Elway,
Here.
Marshall Savitsky is excused.
Okay. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, certification of compliance with open meeting law, Madam Clerk.
This meeting has been known to the public and usually as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statute.
Okay, the meeting agenda has been set. Does anybody have any questions with it? If not. Okay, move on to number 6, public comment. We have anybody online, Mike? Well, look at this.
Court was canceled.
They didn't throw you in jail, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you can make it. We just started.
I'm glad to see you too.
Okay, consider approval of the minutes of previous meeting.
Make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hellwig,
Second.
and a second by, was that you, Jason?
Yeah.
Mr. Weaver, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries to approve. Circuit Court Judge's Report. I last month I talked to Judge Jackal, and we had a pretty good talk. He says the reason he hasn't been doing any reports is because he's so busy, he don't have the time to do them. And I understand that, but he said once the new courtroom and the other judge gets in, he told me that there will be a regular update from the judge, so we just have to wait until then, I guess, so. And I understand he's pretty busy, so. But I did talk to him. Okay, courthouse remodel update. Andy, give me a remodel update. Did you guys read it? Huh?
I think it
No.
just came in this morning, so
Oh.
I probably didn't.
Okay, so I'll read what Andy got here. We found out yesterday in our bi-weekly construction meeting that the occupancy turnover date have been pushed back. The new date is March 31st. Former was March 10th. The construction managers, Myron, were informed that the air handling unit was expected to arrive February 10th. Now the potential delay of the manufacturing till March 10th through March 17th. They're looking at options of pulling the date back up. However, it does not seem promising. This delay in arrival of the unit is the primary reason for pushing back the turnover occupancy date. In addition, we already knew that the main distribution panel would be arriving sometime in March, but the temporary power was going to be used to test all the new systems before the turnover. The panel is now expected to ship out of Mexico from Square D on March 7th. It is unknown how long the journey will take to get here as the pass through the multiple parties. We're going to hold off on the temporary power unit this time before the air handler is confirmed. The last month, there has been a number of issues raised by the court and the sheriff's department related to security, safety, and staffing efficiencies that were not in the final plan. As the time, it is unclear if these will be omitted during the design process, overlooked, or new requests. The court related items include additional cameras, microphones in the courtroom, and monitoring proceeding cameras in the secure hallways, intercoms, cameras at secure entries of the office and control access, and the installation of a bullet resistant film glass over the windows in the judge's chamber. Jail items include adding door controls on holding cells between the jail and court side. We are currently gathering estimates as these items. Preliminary numbers are in 45 to 50,000 range, but does not include all of the cost of any of the bullet resistant measures. We need to consider these costs outside of the contingency fund, and as an add-on, the point will, don't anticipate there will be available contingency funds. If we want to include these items within the next current construction, we need to commit ASAP, which is the reason for the special board meeting next week. We expect to have a better idea on the complete cost by then. So that's Andy's report on that. So is there any questions or concerns?
Has he always had bulletproof windows in his office, I wonder?
I do not know. I don't think so.
Does he have
He
one?
doesn't have windows. He's isolated from the public. In his current chambers.
Does your offices have bulletproof windows? No, or Amy Barkel's old office, is that front
Yes.
window? That does have?
Okay,
$50,000.
Oh, that's a very, very good question.
I mean, if it's necessary,
Yeah.
maybe, but his whole new courthouse coming in.
How big are these windows?
I don't know. So, okay, next, number 9, clerk of court office report, go ahead.
No changes, just.
No
wondering if there's
changes?
Any questions?
Well, that's good news, Marge. Anybody got any questions for Marge?
Make it easy.
Mr. Peters?
No questions.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Marge. Number 10, Sheriff's Department report. Communication Center report.
I'll start off by sharing with everybody. Retired Sheriff Jeff Wolf from La Crosse County and I have co-sponsored a sheriff's snowmobile ride. This was our 3rd annual ride earlier this week. And we had 11 sheriffs from counties throughout Wisconsin attend this year, and it's been pretty consistent about that number, different sheriffs, and we snowmobile down to Flambeau south of Winter Monday and up in the Sealy Hills Tuesday, and raving reviews from fellow sheriffs on our snowmobile trails here and what this community has to offer. So I think it was a great promotion for Sawyer County to promote the area, especially recreationally in the snowmobile area.
Sure, yep. Okay. Any more questions? All right. Number B. Patrol report, Lieutenant Rapinski, what do you got? for us?
I think,
Oh,
I think
you can skip. I always leave you out. I don't know why. But,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
well, I think you're shy too. You know, that one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So in the communication center, we did hold a couple of dispatch interviews and offered 2 of our part-time staff, full-time positions. So one began in the middle of January, and the other at the end of January. But with that, we also did receive a resignation from one of our other full-timers, one of our more senior dispatchers. So that still leaves us 2 short in dispatch. We currently have, excuse me, 1 individual going through the hiring process, and we had a shadow here not too long ago that sounds like she may be interested. We will be moving forward with the installation of headsets for the dispatchers. We're waiting for some equipment yet, and we all know how easy that stuff is to get nowadays. So in January, so far as of January 26th, anyway, we've had 1,138 calls for service. And that's compared to 1,401 calls in January of 2022. And the total number of calls for service we had in 2022 was 18,105. And I apologize, I left the last numbers off, but in compared to in 2021, we had 18,769 calls for service. So we're down a little bit.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? Mr. Peters?
Come on. No questions. Sorry about the trouble
Okay,
unmuting.
all right. Thanks, chief. Number B, patrol report. Okay, Lieutenant Rapinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You see our patrol volume calls did decrease again to about 681, and the 3 month trend shows 724 for October. 785 for November. December was up to 913, but then again the decrease. This month is also a decrease from January of 22, where we had 725 calls for service. For this time period, we issued 28 citations for traffic offenses, 5 written warnings, 25 non-traffic citations. For community mass have been 12 crashes, 4 with personal injury, and no fatalities so far yet. Bringing our new tally for crashes to date, because it's a new year, to 12 total crashes, 4 with personal injuries, and 0 fatalities. We did end 2022 with 343 total crashes, 96 with personal injuries, and a total of 5 fatalities. Not as high as we saw several years ago, but still not a number that we'd like to keep seeing that high in our reports. Total patrol call volumes for 2022 was 9,901, decrease from 2021, which was 11,138, and again 11,050 in 2020, which was a lot due to COVID, and we were still running the traffic grant sentence, so we were having quite a few more traffic contacts. We are proceeding with background checks on 4 applicants for a vacant patrol position, which we hope to have filled by next month's report.
Good. Okay. Any questions for Lieutenant Rapinski?
I have one.
Go ahead.
When I look at like crash data and stuff like that, do you have an estimate of how many people don't report hitting the ditch or going in the ditch? Is that?
You mean as part of the reports that are already filed, or
An estimate, like, because there's so many people, I'm guessing, that hit the ditch and then just get out right away. We were looking at data for a grant for the tribal roads and things like that, and someone brought that up, that there's a lot of people that just get out of the ditch.
oh yeah, they
get
go to
out
the
of
ditch and
there.
they get pulled out for
Yeah.
to get through. Those are hard to track because
Really
community maps
doesn't-
doesn't show reports for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And those things aren't generally generated a report on our end. We'll go there, and if they've gone and left the scene, we don't really investigate any further unless there's damage or something that might lead us to who it was or something.
do you have an estimate on?
I wouldn't even know
Yeah,
what
we
to
didn't
say.
have.
It's hard to
anything
do.
either. Okay, thank you.
It's probably pretty consistent though from year to year, maybe more of a snow year this year might be more. But
Yeah,
if the damage is less than $1,000, they're not required. If there's
yeah,
no damage or it's less than 1,000, they're not required to report it either, so they're not in violation of anything. So a lot of those, they just get someone to
Just
pull
go
them
right
out,
by.
we don't know.
okay.
Peter, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, number C, jail report, Lieutenant.
Thank you. The January 2023 jail report shows an average daily population of 71.2 inmates, 18.8, nearly 19 females to 52.4 males. Our average probation incarceration is 15. Average pre-sentence incarceration is 42.6, nearly 43, and average sentence inmates or sentence incarceration is 13.4. You can see the numbers in comparison to 22 and 21 there next to them. At the bottom, our total bookings for the 2022 year were down significantly, 848 from 1268 in 2021, 1115 in 2020, and 1584 in 2019.
Okay. Those being currently housed out of Barron County is 21. Are they mostly females yet?
They're, as of right now, they're all
All
they're
female?
yeah. The one male that we had down yesterday bonded out, and he was he's no longer there. So
Okay.
it's all females.
And that's still because we're short on female jailers.
Correct, yes.
All right. Any questions for Lieutenant? Mr. Peters?
None here.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think it was Tweedy that asked if raise can be put back on.
What's that?
Tweed had asked at one meeting if race could be put back on the report.
Yes, and I'll just share with the committee at CJCC, the discussion come up. It was my decision to take those demographics off on race. One of the concerns I have, there's so much focus on race that I'd like to see the focus be in a better direction on how we can reduce recidivism. We did do some research, and one of the things that I think is important for this committee to know, and especially CJCC, when it comes to being employed and unemployed, what we're seeing consistent, 80% of our inmates, when they, at the time of booking, are unemployed. And I think if we're really serious about looking at reducing recidivism, that those are the things we need to focus and how to get our people employed. Because what we're seeing consistently, it doesn't matter what the race is, it's the unemployed part of it that is consistent. If we can keep our people productive members of society by keeping them employed and active that way, I think that is key for us to reduce that recidivism.
I don't understand why it's so important to have the race on there anyway. Who
I
cares?
brought it up because Tweed had mentioned it in the past, and
To me, and Sheriff, I agree with you. I don't see its
yeah, it's,
importance either, you know, who cares? I don't. You know.
female and male, like, to me, is more important than.
Yeah, I mean, understand that, you know, so many females, so many males, but race, no, I'm fine with that, you know, so. And I know Mark. Tweed must have asked you that, he never mentioned that to me, but that's okay too, but I agree with the sheriff. All right, any more questions? On the jail report? Okay, number D. Communication specialist report. Mr. Cook.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody on the board. I'm sorry I did send out a late report because I was trying to get some information there. I did send it out and I'll see if I can, actually, anyways, it was emailed out on there. And I guess kind of some of the things that I wanted to highlight in the report was specifically dealing with some things that I've been seeing in regards to actual a couple things, but let me start from the top first. So coverage testing, we did coverage testing at the high school and middle schools in the city of Hayward. We found out that, of course, coverage is not 100%, which is to be expected in a building. It's very hard to base coverage or calculate coverage in a building because there's so many different factors and variables. What we did find though is that coverage is more than WISCOM is on there. The two areas that we kind of focused on or saw that was in the center of the buildings, which make total sense, you know, surrounded by concrete and metal, as well as in some some areas of the building, which are directly by other electronic equipment, computer equipment, those kind of things like that on there. To bring the level up to what we would consider greater than 95%, once again, we can't always achieve 100%, we would need to have BDAs, which is a bidirectional amplifier. These devices basically have an antenna inside the building and an antenna on the outside of the building. They basically, for the most part, suck your signal out from inside the building and push it out to the towers, and then does the opposite in reverse, pulls the signal from the towers and pushes it into the buildings. Many people are familiar with more so of cellular BDAs, as they call them, where, back in the day, that was the latest craze before we had Wi-Fi calling on there. The problem is that on a BDA, you're roughly talking $20,000 to $30,000 for an average channel. So that would mean per site or per location, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 per device to be able to do that. So in essence, to have both schools covered, you would be looking at $40,000 to $60,000 for those that are on there. The per cost per location, you are realistically looking at putting the same cost as putting another channel. The issue is that you need obviously a tower location, microwave link, those kind of things like that on there. So it really comes down to what would suit it better, whether it be a BDA or whether it would be an actual site. The other things that I did include in the report was a couple things, which is clarification of system design. I want to stress and kind of key point a few things here, and I'm trying to see if I can share my screen here or share the content. I don't know if that's possible to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
I have it.
oh, do you have it? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. So clarification of system design. Thank you for pulling that up. The system is designed to be mobile coverage, not portable coverage, and it's designed to be a 95-95 system. I've been doing some surveying and finding out that a lot of people think that it is going to be a full portable coverage system, and that's unfortunately not correct. Portable coverage is increased over Wiscom, but it's not going to be 100%, unfortunately. It's important to think that when you're building a system, when you're building it for mobiles, mobile radios put out 50 watts and they have an antenna mounted on the outside on top of their car. Portable put out 5 watts, and that's 10 times less power than obviously a mobile radio. To roughly increase the portable coverage in the county to about 95% street level coverage, meaning that, hey, in the county, there would be out of 100 spots, 95 of those spots would work 95% of the time. That's the standard for 95 coverage. You would require at least 6 more towers at a minimum to what we currently have in the county now. Portable coverage is dictated extremely by where the portable is worn on the body, what kind of antenna you're using on the body. And then finally, you will be able to see at the last page of this report here where it shows our current coverage is now on there. I'll let you kind of look through the kind of samples there, but there it is right now. That is what we have minus the City of Hayward site, which is not noted on the map, and eventually the future of the Village of Winter site, which is not on those maps. The reason that those two are not included on the maps is 2 things. One, the City of Hayward is a fill-in site to help achieve in-building coverage, and the same thing with the Village of Winter. It's going to be a fill-in site to help achieve in-building coverage in the Village of Winter, plus also the Village of Winter is a little bit of a hole. As a matter of fact, if you kind of see on the map there, you'll kind of see there's a lot of red and dark areas where the Village of Winter is kind of located on the map there. This is going to give you or work towards that 95 mobile coverage within Sawyer County. And I think that's really important. And I wanted to stress it in this meeting is because we've had some reports or calls lately, people saying, I had trouble getting out of my portable, or I was talking to my portable and this was happening. When the reports have been coming in, or actually I was able to listen firsthand and watch the system as it was playing out, we still have this issue with the patch. The patch walks over one another. That's the biggest thing. But then also too is once again, portable coverage trying to get into the system is kind of the issue that is kind of hanging out there. And I'll say it that way is because we're never going to be able to fully get rid of it. Now, the county had installed many years ago mobile repeaters. And this was to help with the Wiscom coverage, because we go back in our anvils of history in Sawyer County with Wiscom, you will find the same issue was reported with Wiscom of people having a hard time getting out on their portables. They put the mobile repeaters in. The mobile repeaters don't work correctly per se with Wiscom as they do with a normal system, which the law system is here. So we're going to be looking at going back to that and then having people do some testing to see how that can in coverage. Now, the mobile repeaters are basically a design where the officer, instead of trying to, let's say, transmit from inside a house out to the towers, which could be miles away, they have to be able to have their portable talk out to their squad car, which could be however far away, 100 feet, yards, whatever. And then the mobile will take the signal received by the portable, and then it transmits it out to the system. So what would happen is that the mobile is transmitting for the officer, and the officer can be in the building or house or away from their squad. And if they can't hit the system on their portable, then they're able to hit it and go out to the mobiles. This is not something new. This isn't something that's, experimental or whatever. The state patrol even uses a very similar system and setup that they have where they talk from their body device, as I call it, back to their squad, and then their squad repeats it back out to the system. That's a key point. I also want to point out on the map, as it shows, anywhere there's black, there's pretty much projected no coverage. Anywhere that there's red, there's projected to possibly be less than 50% coverage. Now, I say projected because there are different things that can influence or cause issues with signals. You could have sometimes new buildings, new constructions, those kind of things. And there's also going to be days where, because of the natural atmosphere, believe it or not, that it actually impacts radio signals. You may have a day where you had no coverage the day before, the weather's cooperating, and you have coverage where you're at. So that's what I wanted to kind of re-stress to the group here to make people understand where this new system is. It is enhanced more than what we have for Wiscom towers, but it's not going to be 100% portable coverage like some people have started to assume that it's going to be.
Mr. Crock.
Yes, sir.
Them portables, though, them are very, very important to our deputies and officers out there, though. I mean, they're not always by their squads. So I just think, I'm hoping that we could come up with something better for their portable.
Well, and that's where the usage of the mobile repeaters will help out more greatly to increase that coverage, because instead of them trying to go out from their handheld directly to the towers, then you're going to be able to do that. But realistically, just to give you an understanding, if we were to look at trying to increase portable coverage, we would need towers, another tower in the city of Hayward. We would need a tower up by the 00 area. We would need a tower in Northwoods Beach. We would need a tower in Stone Lake. We would need a tower in the Radisson area. And then we would probably need at least one, maybe even two towers down south of Draper, south of Winter, in that area down there. That's why I'm saying is that, systems that want portable coverage, they have to put up more towers and they have to put up more cost of the infrastructure. The system from design, now I want to stress, this is not my design. This is from L.R. Kimball way back in the day when they did a study of Sawyer County and the assets. They did it for 95 mobile coverage.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Regarding the portable coverage there, we requested John to help us with some testing. We had some of our staff go out, we did some testing in our school buildings, and that's where this information surfaced here that he shared with us. Our goal is to work with the schools, Winter, Hayward, and LCO, and get close to 100% portable coverage, especially in our schools. And we're looking at the repeater system out of the car to help us. Typically go pretty close to the car so that we're able to enhance that. So we are looking at that, and we should be able to report in more detail here in future meetings after some further testing
Okay.
and research.
All right. Thanks, Sheriff. Mr. Crocker, you still on there?
Yes, sir.
This might be a dumb question, but can't we utilize any of them, say fire towers at the DNR abandoned? Can't we somehow use them to help? I mean, there's a lot of them out there that are not used anymore.
Correct. We actually are using one of the fire towers for actually our communication system currently up by Hayward. We are looking into some of the other ones. Connors Lake, and this is kind of the problem with the DNR. The DNR is saying, yes, they're going to tear down some of them, and then they're saying, no, they're not going to. So it's kind of a back and forth. We finally have received notice that Connors Lake is going to be torn down completely. So that's kind of finally we have an actual answer there. There are a few other towers in a couple other places, like the Sam Lake. We have looked and talked about Sam Lake. We look at other infrastructure around, like, is there possibly a cellular partner So I'm always constantly looking to see what we have out there for towers and infrastructure. For the most part, overall, you probably can find a tower location or come up with a location that would be able to support equipment. The problem or issue that then arises from that is the cost of the equipment and then the ability to connect the equipment back into our system. You know, there are some great tower sites that I've identified, but there's no good way to be able to link them into our system because we have to have the towers talk to each other via microwave network. And that's where the issue comes into play on there. It's always constantly evolving. And I can tell you that I'm always constantly looking to see where we can do this, what we can do, even working with other counties, either working with those kind of things like that. But once again, then there's always the associated cost. Roughly, to give you a ballpark, you know, you're looking at, and this is obviously a very high number, but you're looking at about $200,000. And that's just counting the equipment, the installation, the equipment, the antennas per site to bring a new site on for all 4 of our channels.
Well, yeah, because I know there's a vacant fire tower down in town of Meadowbrook back there that's been there for umpteen years. It's still there. I just brought it up because it's just sitting there and I haven't heard of anybody or the DNR wanting to take that one down. So I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
You guys have any questions for Mr. Kruk?
No, good report.
It was a good report. Ed, you got any questions?
Well, maybe not directly for John, but is this now, has this report been attached to our agenda?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, because I did download something this morning, but wanted to make sure that I'll try it again to make sure it's there.
Yes.
Got on about
Thank you.
And this is Mr. Crook in here. I just wanted to apologize. The issue that took so long is you'll see the paragraph in there with the Village of Winter. They are still doing things on their water tower, and I was not able to get a confirmed information back until this week in regards to the status of their tower and how long that's going to impede us in regards to being able to get on there and get something going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. Last month we brought up the jail sub-block C. How accurate was that complaint? Do you guys have coverage on sub-block C or?
I could not find anything or any staff members that had any valid complaints with that, so
Weird.
I'm unaware.
But does it work in sub-block C?
It works in all of our housing units. I mean, you know, every once in a while we'll get what I call a bonk on the radio, but there's no specific housing unit where the radios aren't working in general.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Kruk.
Thank you, sir.
Number E, code enforcement specialist, Brandon.
Sure. So on the animal control side of things, going forwards, reports are going to be a month behind just because sometimes when I submit the report for the agenda, there's stuff that gets left out and then you're not going to see it until the end of the year. So I figured instead of doing that, we'll push it back a month, make sure you get the full picture. Been working with local businesses to get their permits to operate. It's been an issue. There's certain ones that just don't want to respond at all. And some have been good. They answer and get their permits. It's not a big cost. So it's one of the things that I think Andy had put in his report about the ordinances. It's one of the things I'm working on getting changed, adding more penalties and something to push it along to get those permits in before the end of the year like they're supposed to, not 2 months into the new year. License sales continue to come in, still trying to get the word out, make sure we get everyone, get their dogs licensed. Vaccine clinic, we are getting further along with that. Right now we have dates set up for March 24th for the Winter Fire Hall, 25th for Hayward here. Still working on pricing with Leading Edge. They've been slowing down with getting back to me on that. I'm hoping tomorrow to get something from them. This year, we're gonna be offering both rabies vaccinations and microchipping, depending on how aggressive the dog is. And then starting this Thursday, rest of Thursdays for the month of February, I'm gonna be down in Winter at the Waldo Community Center. They are hosting dog behavioral classes, so I'm gonna be over there to not only have licenses available for sale, but then give people a chance to meet me and any issues they have with animal control in their area and see what we can work on in that. So code enforcement, working a lot with public health, getting integrated with their team. I know that it looks like now every week I'm gonna try to get over at the courthouse and be down there with them so they know I'm around. And as far as zoning goes, continuing to get complaints that they have in and getting out and looking into them, getting pictures, seeing what's going on.
That's working out pretty good.
So far, yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey, Brandon, where do they go in Hayward, the city of Hayward, to get a dog license?
Courthouse, dog pound, or they can send a check with a rabies certificate.
And the city also offers the deputy clerk. At least Poppy also sells licenses.
Anything else, Brandon?
No, just reports below.
Okay, yeah.
That's for the year end of 2022.
Okay, is there any questions for Brandon?
Are you advertising the rabies clinics? for winter?
Not yet. I'm waiting to get the pricing and then we're gonna have a whole thing. I know I've had a lot of calls coming in. I've been telling people we're gonna have them this year. These are the dates, but waiting on Leading Edge to get me pricing so I can finalize all of that.
Okay.
I went to cause I didn't know when we were gonna have one. I went to one in Holcomb. And it was just a few days ago and they were charging like $10 for the rabies vaccination. So, you know, I didn't want to go there, but I didn't know when you guys are gonna have, because I like to stay in the county. The guy says, well, you're a long ways from home. I said, yeah. Doesn't Hayward have one of them yet? I said, no, they're not set up yet to do it, but I know it's in the works, so. And
Yeah,
I mean, I always use it, and then I know there's a lot of people use it because it was either in winter. We even had it at the Excellent Fire Hall, and every time I went to them, there's always been a big turnout. So it's a big, big thing.
yeah, but I've had a lot of calls, especially in the past 2 weeks, a lot of people calling up asking if we're gonna do it this year, so
Okay,
I
all right.
expect a pretty big turnout.
We have postcards that we're gonna use to go out too. Are we gonna use those postcards with the,
I don't know what the dates are on it,
I
but
think couldn't we put label on?
if we can get that,
I think if we
we
put
can
the label
do that
on, we
too.
can get those postcards out too once we talk.
Okay, any more questions for Brandon? Mr. Peters?
None here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Number 11, emergency management.
Thank you. I am finishing up the closeouts. I just finished the closeouts for the fiscal year 2022, just submitted those grants last Friday. They were due on this Monday. Been working with the villages and townships to gather information from the winter storm, working in the Wisconsin Disaster Fund grants, getting those prepared. Received several declarations from villages and townships regarding the damages that they've had. Working to get the numbers on that. We had our first quarterly LEPC meeting earlier in January. Last week, a bunch of us from the Sheriff's Department, along with public health and local fire and medical staff, attended a statewide tabletop for a mass casualty event, which we determined in the county we need to work on preparing a resource center in the event of a mass casualty, especially active shooter situations. There's also an active shooter large scale event planned for March of 2023 in winter.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for
No, I'm good.
Mr. Peters? You have any questions?
I guess the only one I have is that I know that some of the townships are struggling with being able to estimate their expenses because most of the cleanup's going to have to be after the snow begins to melt or snow melts so they can actually get to the material. Is that going to cause a problem with getting reimbursed?
We've discussed with the regional coordinator, Randy, about that. Basically, we're just looking for estimates on what they think are going to be now, and we'll work to alter them or change them or fix them once we get final costs in at the end of spring. The final grant isn't due until middle of March, so hopefully we can have better estimates by then.
Okay, thank you very much.
I know, when I was doing ours for our township, I was talking to Mark. And he told us that we had to, you know, the spring is gonna be the biggest part of the cleanup. And how do you estimate something like that? I mean, he said, well, just get it as close as you can, so that's what we did. I mean, that, like I say, that's gonna be the biggest part of this whole cleanup. I mean, we've even had the grader out and trying to wing back some of that stuff. It don't move, you know, it's gotta be cut. And all our ditches are full. So. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, number 12, Child Support Department report, number A, Public Safety Child Support Agency report. You got that on here, Lynn?
Yep. You have one.
Oh, all I got is the MOU. Hang on, excuse me a second. Okay. All right, everybody read that? Okay,
Yes.
no questions? All right, number B, child support MOU. That's gonna be on hold. It's going back and put back on March's agenda. As of right now, there's still to work on the MOU, but due to staff availability for today's meeting, it's not ready for consideration. That's from Andy. So, okay. Somebody on there?
Sorry about that.
That's okay, Mr. Peter. All right, number C, support of the increased child support funding.
I think that's still part of the same.
Yeah, that's still part of the.
Yeah.
I think it's still part of it, yeah. So we'll just leave that for now. What's that? Yep, ambulance report. Number 13.
All right, as you can see, Andy asked me to focus this one for more of the financial stuff that we've been doing with the new billing company. I had them run the numbers, I double checked the numbers. This does not include any of the checks that we received from Medicare and Medicaid because they come right to the county, not to the billing company. So a lot of these charges, as you can see, like how much we charged and how much we got back. That's still outstanding bills plus accepted payments through Medicare and Medicaid. You know, so obviously we only get a percentage of those charges that we have to accept. Right now, if we look at the gross revenue, they're at 29% recovery. If you look at the service revenue, it's 28%. I'm in the process of right now looking back at our older stuff to see how that compares to what the old company was billing. You know, to see if it's either comparable or better. I'm hoping for better. Because, you know, there'd be no point in changing companies if you got the same results. We've been we're focusing on doing more transfers, but being short-staffed, it's kind of hard to guarantee transfers going out right now. We are getting more people in. The only problem is some of the bigger ambulance companies surrounding us are offering like a lot more money than we are.
What's a lot?
Well, I think our starting wage is 21 or 22 something, and they're offering 26 to 30. You know.
So that was one of my questions, why I asked Lynn to put that on there, and Andy is because I wonder where these transfers are, because we don't seem to be doing as much as we used to.
So there's, you know, without like throwing shade at anything, there's other influences out there that are stopping us from actually proceeding with more transfers. We can definitely do some more, but I would have to, you know, I'm in talks with the hospital about, hey, you know, if I can give you this or this. I am hiring. I did hire because this year is a research year, a lot of graduates from the schools. I've actually picked up one paramedic as a part-time, but he's willing to put in full-time hours. And 2 EMTs, plus I got another EMT that's coming back to us. So, you know, we're gonna be, and I'm actually focusing on the higher levels because, you know, that's the higher level care providers from advanced up to paramedics are what can give us the better return,
Right.
right? So I'm trying to focusing on like, I like the higher basics because that's a good foothold. And that's a good way to view someone, how they're gonna be with a service. But I also don't wanna hire like outside issues, you know? So people that actually have been in EMS for a while and that have that have a good following and a good head on their shoulders, that's actually who I'm after more. So we're working on that. I'm working on trying to get some nurses that wanna, you know, do transfers because nurse transfers are the highest level we can bill at. So, and I am interviewing Friday a nurse that's from Stone Lake. And hopefully, you know, but you know, nurses do get paid a lot, you know, more than what we offer, but you know, I'm not a big money person. I don't do things for money, so it's kind of hard for me to do the whole, you know, how do we go after things about money? We do offer, like, we are one of the most requested training sites for all the colleges that are around us, and everybody that goes out and I talk to, they always want to come back, and the only big issue is like, so if they live next to Mayo and Mayo's offering $26 an hour and, you know, we're offering 22, you know, I actually, and somebody that just wants money, I actually have a hard time wanting to hire too, because then where's their heart? Is their heart in the EMS side? Or is their heart into like how much money I can make, you know? So I want a blend of both. I want somebody to be able to make a living, but care about what they're doing.
Exactly. So, but them higher up paramedics, so ain't them harder to get?
Well, they are harder to get, but it's actually like people on the, you know, some of them get, these higher services require a lot more out of them. Right? You know, they're doing 72 hours straight. They're doing transfers nonstop. They're going to the cities. They're running Eau Claire to St. Paul probably a dozen times a day. You know,
Okay.
so I think Sawyer County offers a good mix of everything. You know, we get enough calls to keep busy, but not enough to burn you out. And we actually have a very good relationship where we're not pushing people to where we're stressing them like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. I mean, I'm pretty high standards from what I want because we do a lot of focusing on training and I do a lot of training. Matter of fact, the reason my report's only got the one report is because I've been in class for the last 2 months getting all my instructor licenses. So now I can do all the paramedics and all the EMTs and do all their training in-house instead of having to send them out. Right, so and that's gonna be part of our EMS training. Is our monthly meetings are also gonna include training that they can use for their credits for their licenses.
Okay.
So,
Good.
yeah, and yeah, we're focusing on it. If we can keep the revenue up, I'm working on the transfer stuff. And you know, the biggest thing right now, and even like everybody's saying, it's always about the money in the end. You know,
Well,
but
money, that's a root.
money, and you know, you can only offer so much good stuff before they're like, yeah, but my wife wants, you know, or husband, because I do have, you know, and I have 2 paramedics out right now that had surgeries. They should be getting one back this month and another one back the month after. So, and those are 2 full timers.
Okay. Mr. Weaver, you got a question?
Sure. The question I guess I have is, this is billable, so if it's a billable service and we're getting the reimbursement for it, why wouldn't we pay at that higher wage to attract people into Sawyer County? if we don't take care of our EMTs, then they're not gonna be there to take care of us when we need them. So I don't see why we have such a lower pay range when it's something that we bill out to the insurance and other, even though we're only collecting a percentage. But still, I guess I don't see why we're down on that low end again. And, I don't wanna say mistreating our educating staff in the community, but.
So the county's,
Okay.
the county's pretty good at how they treat the EMTs. The huge question is like, so if we start offering more money, does that mean that everybody that's actually working right now, are they gonna be bumped up, right? So, like I said, I have a hard time with the money stuff because I'm not I like to do, I consider a lot of stuff I do volunteer for the community.
Yeah.
Because I've been part of Sawyer County for so long that it's just part of what I do. And I love that we're trying to build, we've been looking at getting EMR courses in the high school. And trying to build up the community EMS like we used to have it when we were volunteers. It was and having that kind of draw and getting good people inside the community. I mean, I've had Jim Onerheim going out to where we've been doing CPR classes. I mean, he's probably got over 200 people that he's taught CPR to in this last 4 months. And he's doing one for that new school coming up in this month, the outdoor school, they call it.
Aki.
Yeah, so he's doing that too. And that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy, that my EMTs keep busy. I mean, they needed help here in the courthouse with folding envelopes or, and the on-duty staff that was there, they volunteered to come over and help out and do whatever they could. So that's the kind of stuff that I want my EMTs to do, is to show, hey, that we're here, we're part of this community and we're willing to help. The money side does help them, and it would be nice to be able to get some high quality people, but then again, I'm also picky. I don't just pick anybody either. So.
Yeah. So maybe, what Mr. Weaver said, maybe you and Mr. Alvarado, he's on there. I see now, and Lynn told me, something to talk about and then bring it back to this committee. Andy, you got something you want to say?
I think that's just the most.
No, I don't have anything to offer.
Okay,
I'll talk to John after the meeting.
all right, thank you. So, and then looking at this, ambulance summary report here, do you send one of these to finance, Ron Kinsley?
I send this out to, this goes to Andy.
Yeah.
And then I also attach it to Mark Margren.
Oh,
Mike Margren, yep. So, yeah, if we wanted to do one for the finance committee, I would love to do one.
well, he requested one before, and I told him, well, we would get him on board with that, because he likes to take a look at it. So if
Yeah.
you can get one to him.
So, yeah, it sounds like you are, Mike Martin.
Yes, Mike
Yep,
Margren,
Mike is
yeah.
getting it.
So,
You're talking about the, finance committee.
Finance committee chair, Ron Kinsley,
Okay.
yeah.
if he wants to, I just gotta get,
His email.
his emails, which is probably in the county.
It's in the county, yeah, okay.
I'll just write myself another sticky note, goes right on my computer.
All right, any more questions for Mr. Fremmel? All right, number D, medical examiner's report.
I didn't send one because I was working on this one, obviously, and plus I was very busy with all the other stuff I did. The only thing I gotta say is that we are having another uptick in overdose deaths and overdoses. So my next report will include more information on that. So,
Fentanyl.
fentanyl methamphetamine. So it's kind of like, I guess, the new school, was that 8-ball back in the day, they called it cocaine, heroin.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
I have no idea.
But no, it's usually a mix of,
Not anymore.
no, I don't.
Back in the day,
But it seems to be the biggest mix right now, and it's a pretty scary mix because, you know. Methamphetamine is horrible because it's a huge upper, and obviously fentanyl is an opiate, it's a huge downer, so.
And you hear a lot about it on the news. It's terrible.
And then they're both way cheaper.
Right.
Like about a quarter the cost of regular heroin or cocaine, so.
Okay, Mr. Bremel, then if you can get a copy of that out to Mr. Kinsley and Finance, because he's the committee chair. Then he can share it with Finance Committee to see where we're at here. So is there any more, go ahead, Mark. You got a question? Okay, number 14, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council report. Andy, you want me to give it or do you want to?
I think it'd be better if you can give it.
Okay, all right. CJC has focuses on address the opioid or overdose and how best to use opioid funds. In January, Public Health presented an online strategy that they have been working on based on community health data and addressing abuse, treatment and recovery. This will discuss further this month in the budget outline. The county board will see presentation on February's meeting, and continued work of Justice Point and their pretrial and diversion program continues to be monitored and discussed. The treatment court will also be up and running in the coming months. Okay. Andy, you got anything you want to add to that or no?
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay, thank you, Andy. All right. Future agenda items. The MOU will be put back on there. And when Andy and Mr. Brumwell talk about what Mr. Weaver said, that'll come back to us. It might not be this next month, but when it does, then we'll put that on there. So, and you guys have anything I want to go on the agenda? Sure. Okay. Number 16, correspondence reports from conferences and meetings. Nothing. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Man, that's a number last week on